Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I'm the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So in tonight's video, I'm talking about a well-to-do family in Brazil, a well-to-do Black family in Brazil. And I became aware of this story several months ago. But as I said, as I try to keep up with so many things that's going on with Black Brazilians, sometimes, and a lot of times, stories that I originally start out to cover get pushed into the archive. And, eventually I'll come back to it. Oftentimes it'll be, I kind of forgot about an article or a situation, and then another story that's similar to it will give me the opportunity to reach back to that story. So I saw a post by this family today, and somebody had made reference to this family. So I'm like, wow, I forgot to. I didn't get around to doing a video about this several months ago. So I wanted to talk about this family today, and just to show again the changing dynamics in Brazilian society, which just kind of shows that Brazil has a problem when they see Black Brazilians moving out of the lower class socioeconomic position that Brazil has always reserved for the Black population. As I've said in numerous videos, in many ways, Brazilian society still continues to see its Black population as if it were enslaved. It's like people will say, you know, uh, Black Brazilians in reality, they don't feel the sting of real racism until they leave the quote unquote place that's reserved to them. They're expected to live in lower class neighborhoods. They're expected to be living in favelas, the lower class neighborhoods and communities that you'll find in the hills of major cities. So it's like when they move up socioeconomically, that's when they find that Brazil really doesn't expect them, and Brazil in general is very discomfort. They have a discomfort with seeing Black people in certain socioeconomic events, neighborhoods, restaurants, places where they don't expect to see Black people. So anyway, today, the name of this video, Black Millionaire Family. For Brazil, seeing a Black family doing well doesn't seem as natural as for a white family. Why is that? Before I get into this video, make sure you like this video, share this video, comment on this video. Subscribe to this channel if you've seen more than a few videos that caught your attention, and click on the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this story for the day. I'm going to feature a video later on just to, put some emphasis on some of the things that people are saying about this family. So anyway, this is the family that I'm speaking about here. This calls into question the idea of the social ascension of Black Brazilians. As I just said, Brazilian society seems to be they're just not comfortable with seeing Black people in middle upper class status, right? They're supposed to stay poor. There's oftentimes a feeling of, how does this Black guy have such a car? How does this Black woman have this nice apartment and I don't have this? Okay. The position reserved in Brazilian society for its Black population is the lower class. They're expected to stay in the lower class. They're expected to live in lower class communities. So when they happen to succeed and move out of that, and they move into a realm of what we'll call, I talked about this the other day, the famous book by the sociologist of Florestan Fernandes, it was called O Negro no Mundo dos Brancos, like the Black in the world of whites. Brazil can't deal with successful Blacks. I'm going to talk a little bit about this story. It was featured in the Mary Claire Brazil edition. And then later on, I'm going to feature some of the racist, prejudicial comments that they receive on a regular basis due to their Instagram channel. They're defining themselves as the Black Millionaire Family, and a lot of people are bothered by that. Anyway, I want to pose the question at the end of this video about how you feel about it. So for now, let's talk about this family and, some of their experiences. Influencer who went viral with Black Millionaire Family reveals criticism. There's a taboo on putting the words Black and money together. This is what she said. So Michele Passa, this woman here and here, she generated identification and became a source of inspiration by showing the daily life of her family, known on social media as the Familia Preta Milionaria, meaning Black millionaire family. In a conversation with Marie Claire magazine's Brazilian edition, she reflected on the importance of identifying Black people and how she circumvents prejudice on the web. This story is brought to us again, as I said, by the Marie Claire Brazilian edition of the magazine, written by Lívia Maria, we'll say. Okay, so the family, the wife, the husband, the child, and the dog, the Familia Preta Milionaria. Anyone who watches influencer Michele Passa's content must imagine that she's always had it easy. That's because she has become known on social media as the mother of the Black millionaire family, as she shares videos alongside her husband Bruno, daughter Zahara, and the dog Kido. But the young woman's story is not as easy as it seems. She used to be a physics teacher and left her career in order to create content, as she suffered in an area of knowledge that was very unfavorable to women, especially Black women like her. Definitely would like to know more about her experiences in this particular area. The networks empowered me and helped me move forward. At some point, I became one of the 10 most watched channels by the Black population she celebrates. Marie Claire, again, the Brazilian edition of the magazine, spoke to the influencer to tell her story of representation influencer. The influencer reflects on prejudice on social media as part of a successful Black family. Michele Passa says she started creating content in 2016. She says her main goal was to show off her family's loving moments, something that was built up when she and her husband, Bruno Passa, met. They had been together since 2011 when they were both studying the southern Brazilian, the Brazilian state in the south of the country known as Rio Grande do Sul. She is a master's student in physics, and he is a freshman in the oceanography course who had just arrived in Brazil because he was born in Guinea-Bissau in Africa. I didn't find that out until today. I wasn't sure. I just assumed they were both, Brazilian, but as it turns out, she is Brazilian and he's from Guinea-Bissau. If I'm not mistaken, Guinea-Bissau is a country that speaks Portuguese. May be wrong about that. There's about 4 countries that speak Portuguese. It's like Mozambique, Angola, Sao Tome, Principe Islands, the Cabo Verde Islands, or the Cape Verdean Islands, as we say in English. I think Guinea-Bissau is another country that speaks Portuguese. I'm gonna have to go back and check into that because I'm trying to remember which country that is. It's like I said, there's like 4 or 5 countries that speak Portuguese. So he's an immigrant to Brazil. After a year of dating, the two got married and moved to Sao Paulo, where the influencer timidly began to grow on the social networks. I thought I wouldn't be able to survive in Sao Paulo, and I had a hard time getting a job as a physics teacher. I'm very lucky to have Bruno because the division of money was never an issue in our relationship. In the meantime, I was already creating content for social media, and after years of teaching, I decided to stop and focus on that. When her career as an influencer began to take off, Zahara was born. Together, they became the Black Millionaire Family, a code name they chose to circumvent social media algorithms. Our catchphrase was also a way of hacking the algorithm. Whenever we searched for familia, meaning family, we didn't appear or show up, on search engines. And as Familia Preta, meaning Black family, we appeared a little better, but it wasn't ideal. As Familia Preta Milionaria, or Black millionaire family, we really show up. We're not made invisible. In fact, we are millionaires of immaterial things that money can't buy, she says. Just in deciding to pull this story back from a few months ago, I discovered that they were featured on the cover of the Forbes magazine, the Forbes Brazilian edition of the magazine, specifically for the Brazilian market. So they made the cover of this magazine right here. A Black family, a Black millionaire family. I can't read the real small print there. But this is from March of this year, where they appeared on the Brazilian edition of Forbes magazine. That's a pretty big deal. On TikTok, where she has more than 1 million followers, Michele has drawn the attention of curious eyes to her family, whether it's her beauty, her fun times, or her upper middle class lifestyle. She achieves impressive engagement numbers. Many of the comments come from people who find the family's life strange. Wonder why that would be. She says that for some haters, a family's good conditions don't seem natural. What's the problem? Is it because we're black? Is it because black and millionaire don't go together? Why is that? People don't think it's common for a family like mine to have these privileges. It hurts a lot because they try to put us in a feudal place. But when we say we're a millionaire family, it's never about financial conditions. It's about happiness, love, and affection. Always have to point out again, it's one thing when you get an individual black who becomes successful financially and in their career, because generally, and what I've seen in following Brazil all these years, whatever black person, reaches the higher echelons of salary and income, they usually marry white. So not only did this black Brazilian woman marry a black man, she married an African man. That speaks a lot to me. It speaks to the growing consciousness of having an identity and the idea of black men and black women, building strong black families. In this particular case, this is a great story because it's like they are an example to offset the negative images that are usually associated with black families in Brazil. They're lower class, they're uneducated, they're illiterate, they live in a favela, these types of things, right? So it's often thought that black Brazilians as individuals will usually choose somebody from who have a whiter appearance. So this is something else, this is not mentioned in the article, but this is something that I have to point out because as I've said in previous videos, there's been a rise in the call for black couples to have strong black families. There are dating apps that seek to put together black men and black women in Brazil to create this kind of Afrocentric relationships that never really existed in Brazil. But she doesn't mind the negative comments. As an influencer, her priority is to be a reference to the public. She sees the mission as successful. It was an act of courage to expose the reality of our family. I talk about courage because it makes some people uncomfortable when they comment that we shouldn't have our things. But most of the public are inspired by us and have us as their goal. For them, content has a place of warmth and affection. Also there was a TV show from some years ago called Mr. Brown, and it featured who I always say is the top black Brazilian actor, and his wife is the top black Brazilian actress. Well, both, Brazilian man, Brazilian woman, they're both actors and they're married. Lázaro Ramos and Thais Araújo, they starred in a show called Mr. Brown some years ago. And this is what they want to portray in the changing reality of black Brazilians to show that, hey, this show successful black people. And this is the image that they want to try to change because of how Brazil has always looked at its black population as, it always presented as, living in poverty. So later on, I want to get an idea of what people think about how this family is presenting itself online, because the comments speak to people. Not only do you get a hint that, well, with the negative comments that they're getting on their Instagram, would this have happened to rich white families? Or is there something else going on here? So as Michele says, there is a discomfort about our family and we know where it comes from. Previously, the comments caused deep emotional pain for the influencer. However, just like at the start of her career, Michele has found a way to dodge the insults. I try to focus on constructive criticism. As for the absurd comments, I use them to create even more content. She says that what really bothers her are the attacks on her daughter. When it comes to Zahara, it hurts more. It's very difficult, and there are gratuitous offenses. Like it or not, she's a public child, but she's hardly active on social media. As a family, we keep to ourselves. She doesn't use social media as a way of protecting her. Comments and messages on her profile are blocked. Now, it's a shame that people will come after the daughter, a small, a child. This reminds me of the famous white couple who adopted 2 black children from Africa. And that child they were getting all types of racist slander, just negative comments. Like, it's bad enough that people attack each other online as adults, but to throw, such ugly comments at a child is just totally unnecessary. Michele also reflects on why she is so uncomfortable with the comfortable life she and her husband have worked so hard to have. There was a huge taboo on putting the words preto y dinero, or black and money, together. We understand that there is a discomfort with our family standard of living and where it comes from. We've tried to please everyone, but we realize that our content isn't designed to offend anyone, and we're genuine. If producing content for social networks and being successful in Brazil is difficult, being a Black woman imposes even more limitations on the context. Brazil is a racist and segregated country. Seeing a Black family eating well, dressing well, and being happy doesn't seem as natural as it does for a white family. This is what Michele said. Even though she's gained a certain prominence compared to other lifestyle influencers, Michele pointed out that there is still invisibility and prejudice within the digital production market itself. The influencer also analyzes that both factors make success a slow journey. As much as I strive to be remembered by brands, pages, and the media, I am ignored and made invisible. If I don't insist, I become the influencer with the least screen time, the last to be invited to events, the last in the photo carousel, and even the one who doesn't get posted at all. I've been fighting for my space for a long time. I don't like to get frustrated about it, but I see people who arrive in this environment and grow quickly. Despite these difficulties, I'm very happy with what I do, and I know that the recognition I already have is very important. So she's noticing, if this were a white family in a similar situation, they probably would have grown their social media profile a lot quicker. A lot of Black Brazilians have complained about that, like certain ways that, social media reacts when it's them versus, people who have a whiter appearance. This isn't the first time I've heard somebody speak on this. So what I want to do right now is just talk about, some of the comments. They put together a video, two short videos, just posting some of the comments that people made, just looking at some of the pictures on their Instagram profile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just read some of them. I'm not going to try to read all of those comments, but you'll see the comments posted in the video that they posted, just showing like, look, this is some of the things that, some of the negative comments that we get from people every day. So let's check this out. So the caption, it says, a família como a nossa pode mostrar felicidade e prosperidade, which means, can a family like ours show happiness and prosperity? So let's check this out. What were people saying? A Black family showing off, my God, you are not humble. Nobody in the world is a millionaire. Who is God. Black people showing off, slave family in the furnace. At least I don't eat bananas every night for dinner. They're stealing even from me. Spoiled when they think they are. Instead of showing off, why don't they donate to Rio Grande do Sul in South Africa? Now, what they're talking about right here is that the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul, actually where they met, they were having some terrible floods earlier this year. It was like a national emergency. So that's what they're talking about. Donate to Rio Grande do Sul. You should F off if you keep showing off. You don't you don't think you're too big, because when you lose the mansion, you won't cry because no one will help you. When you die, you'll take nothing. The Black millionaire family, I say, is very retarded, and I repeat, very retarded. My God, you irritating people. Will you stop bragging that you're rich? I wonder where the money comes from. I've always been asked what color I am, and I've always said human being. Simple. Rancorous people put color on everything. What does it have to do with who is Black? Unnecessary. Then you say we're racist. You're so ridiculous. F you. What a piece of ish. Now you can steal with privacy. A Black family that creates nothing for Black people, nothing for Black children, nothing for the evolution of Black people, rich with money and fame. Not even their daughter's birthday had Blacks. They don't answer to their fans. They're arrogant. They run away from their fans. They don't create anything. They don't collaborate. He's a foreigner who comes to take advantage of Brazilians. I guess they're saying he's a pain in the ass, or they're a pain in the ass. Again, hard hair, or, they say that Black people have coarse hair. If they were white, they'd be throwing rocks at them. Hypocrisy. A multimillionaire who doesn't help those in need. If I'm honest, it's Black people who commit the most racism. So these are just some of the comments that was on the video that they posted. Just, wow, a lot of unnecessary comments here. I don't get from them that they're showing off, that they have money. I just get, okay, this is a question that I wanted to ask here. We're in a social media era. Do you see this? Just looking at some of the pictures on the Instagram channel. Let's take a look over here. So this is Michele Passa. These are just some of the pictures on their Instagram page. Just if a husband, wife, and a daughter. Some of the pictures have the dog in it. They have pictures of their home. They have pictures of the trips that they take. You know, they just show, hey, this is the lifestyle we have. I don't necessarily see this as something that's showing off, but I'm curious to know how people think, what you all think about this. This is them driving in one of their cars. Do we see this as showing off? Because how I see this is, if you've looked at how Black Brazilians are portrayed in the media and how they've been portrayed for years, you can kind of understand why they feel the need to, put content out like this, because the idea is to change the narrative of what a Black family looks like. Black Brazilians don't want to just always be presented as people coming out of poverty, because definitely in the last 20 years, a lot of Black Brazilians have actually risen social economically. So why do Black people always have to be shown as poverty ridden? There's quite a few Black families that have risen to the ranks of the middle class, particularly in the last 10 to 15 years. We see this as a result of the quota system and a number of other policies that have helped increase the access of Black men and women to middle class lifestyles, right? um stereotypes stereotypes when you see what Brazil has long presented Black people as in its media. This article is from, let me see, I think this is from earlier this year. After decades of invisibility and stereotypes, Brazilians discovering the power of Black protagonism in films and television. So this is just showing that, years ago, you just didn't see many Black Brazilians in starring roles, and particularly, a cast of mostly Black actors in films. But there's been high grossing films in Brazil with featuring the majority Black cast, Black directors, Black actors. They're getting their accolades, is winning a lot of awards. And the reason why this is a big deal is because of the stereotypes that you always see Black people shown, how they're shown in Brazil's media. 8 racist stereotypes that Brazilian novellas need to stop using, the continuous invisibility and devaluation of the Black population. So these are just some of the stereotypes that you see of Black Brazilians. Let's take a look at a couple here. Let me see here. The Black mother, or Mai Preta, the one who does everything for white bosses, the maid. What else we have? The slave, the fiery, sensual Black woman, the malandro, meaning the trickster or the hustler, the perfect Black guy. These are all stereotypes that have to be done away with. And then novellas that are still, Brazil has for a long time had a thing about releasing new novellas or soap operas that are based in the slave era. So when people are inundated with these images of Black Brazilians, how do people come to see the Black population? So when you consider this, put this in the context, you can understand, like, I don't see what they're doing as showing off. I see it as, we need to change the narrative, because not all Black Brazilians are poor. And why is it wrong to say that? Let's look at a couple of other articles here. Again, go to blackbraziltoday.com, almost 4,000 articles over there. Black Brazilians are advancing in the undergraduate programs that most train executives, but they're still invisible in companies. So they're taking on managerial and executive positions. Even though the change is slow, it's still coming. This is some stories that I did way back in 2014. Now, the affirmative action programs in Brazilian universities started like in 99, early 2000s, and they have worked out very well. There's been just tens of thousands of Black Brazilians who have been going to the universities, getting an education, and being able to have access to, careers that pay well. Against all of the anti-affirmative action rhetoric, see how the university quota system has worked so well in Brazil. Because when quotas were first announced in Brazil, people were arguing like, that's not fair. Why should they get quotas? Why should they be able to get to the university? Blah, blah, blah. You're going to lower the quality of the university education by letting these people who are not qualified get into the college. And against all of that rhetoric, this is basically saying the quotas have worked out in Brazil. Here's a guy who earned a degree. He took a well-deserved vacation in Amsterdam. These are all Black Brazilians. This girl is the first in her family to go to college. She was a student at the University of Brasilia. This guy, let's see, a master's degree, an MBA. He lectures in the United States and Switzerland. He's a lawyer. He graduated from, popular university in Rio de Janeiro. Somebody who achieved the dream of her parents and grandparents of going to a university. This guy, apparently he's in the medical field, odontology, student at the Federal University of Santa Catarina in the south of the country. Just a lot of success stories there. What else do we have here? The New Faces of Blackness. I wanted to highlight this because this was on a magazine. Let me see, the name of the magazine was the article is called The New Faces of Blackness, and it's from the Valor magazine. It was a big deal because you've got Brazilians are, we're not all from the favela. We're not all lower class. We all, can't afford to eat at decent restaurants or whatever. So, for the last decade and a half, particularly in the social media era, we'll say, there's been a push to change the image of what Black Brazilians are. Black Brazilians have often been awarded and chosen for what's called the MIPAD Awards, the Most Influential People of African Descent list. This is an award ceremony that goes on in New York, and it just honors people of African descent from various countries around the world. It looks like mostly people under the age of 40, maybe under the age of 50. There's been a couple of people who were older than that have been honored. But there's been a lot of Brazilians who have been chosen for these, for this award event. The growth of Black entrepreneurship in Brazil. They're popping up on magazine covers. Just if you go to the blackbraziltoday.com blog, you'll see a lot of these success stories. This is from the 2018 award ceremonies where 11 Black Brazilians were honored among 224 of the most influential people of African descent in the world. Award given to high achievers under the age of 40. What else do we have here? So this is a story from 2021. For the first time, 3 Black Brazilian diplomats occupy posts in the Brazilian embassy in Washington, D.C. Having a career as a diplomat was just something that was pretty much closed for Black Brazilians up until recent times. Now, this is a story I did probably about a month, maybe 2 months ago. This Black couple, Bárbara Brito and Levis Novaes, they got married in a Black wedding in a historical, luxurious hotel in Rio de Janeiro, the Copacabana Palace. The Copacabana Palace, this was like the first time you have like in a big event like this for a Black couple. Okay, so they wanted to celebrate this. They had video of everything. And again, it's a couple that's representing this change of the image of Black Brazilians. So another reason why I'm highlighting the story that I'm talking about today is that Brazil rejects Black people when they get into certain, when they improve their socioeconomic condition. This guy in Sao Paulo, he's a musician and a comedian online. He's obviously doing very well, but he was consistently being the target of attacks by his neighbors in this apartment building in Sao Paulo. It's like, get out, monkey. In Sao Paulo, comedian musician Eddie Jr. leaves his apartment after a racist attack. Incident triggers protest in front of the apartment. This lady and her son had a clear problem with Eddie Jr. And it's this thing of like, what is this Black guy doing here? I've talked about this story a lot because it's still kind of it's outrageous. Her son was caught on camera waving a knife. And I think there was another video. He had a broken bottle. He's waiting outside the apartment for the guy. Why is this such a problem when Black Brazilians are living in these type of apartments? Let's see what else we have here. This was a story from earlier this year. In an episode of Elevator Racism, delivery man is prevented from using the building's social elevator by a resident. Remember that I think this is being banned across the country now, but in Brazilian apartments, you go and you'll have an apartment for the residents who live in the apartment, and then you'll have the elevator for the people who are considered the help, the cleaning people, the cooks, the maids, or whoever. So they have this like social segregation right inside of an apartment. This Black guy is delivering something to an apartment building, and this lady is trying to impede him from getting on the social elevator. Again, what are you Black people doing here? So this is the reason why I wanted to highlight this story today, because it just shows, like, I don't know. I want to get what people think about this. Do you think that these people are considered showing off, or is this a good look? I mean, should Black Brazilians who have, they have, let's say, a high buying power, they're solidly middle class. Is this something that's considered ostentatious, or is just said, hey, we have this lifestyle and it shouldn't be off limits. It shouldn't be something that's out of the question for Black Brazilians. How did you all see this? Do you see this as them showing off, or do you see this as Well, if this was a white family, it wouldn't be considered a big deal. However you feel about this, drop a comment in the comment section. Like this video, share this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Click on the notification bell so that you'll know when I put up a new video. And with that said, I'm going to end this video here and request that you all come back. Check out the next video that I post here at Black Brazil Today.